Strap in, boys and girls, because today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite comics of all time. Today we're talking about Rob Liefeld's Supreme. Supreme was part of the early Image run of comics. He first appeared in Youngblood and then went on to have his own book. Liefeld writes very eloquently about his characters. I remember a foreword to possibly the first issue of his solo book that stated that the idea was to do a Superman type ramped up to near omnipotence, and then strip away the assumed morality and watch him interact in a densely populated world of superheroes. The execution ultimately fell a little flat for readers. Part of this was that everyone wanted either Wolverine or Batman, or both, and as a result, the character was rebooted several times in what I think ended up only 70-ish issues of a book, and that took nearly 2 decades to do. Now, while I read those early books, my favorite and probably the most famous run on it was by Alan Moore, who turned it into a meta-commentary on the medium, drawing heavily on Silver Age Superman iconography. The book was never a top seller despite critical acclaim, so issues were hard to find back in the day. This was the other book that I quested for, along with the aforementioned Miracle Man. More recently, it's been collected so one can find reprints fairly easily, which I would encourage people to seek out. Usually they feature Alex Ross art on the cover, which is generally a good idea, though I wish they used the art that featured the actual comics from the book and not concept art he had for future issues. But look, you might be asking, why is this one worth it? And that's fair. For starters, the Alan Moore run is fairly short, so it's not a huge investment. The first volume is a complete story that deals with the changing nature of comic books while also being filled with twists. The second volume is not a complete story. There are several standalone stories, and some are amazing, but the final arc was left incomplete. It was picked up many years later by Eric Larson, who attempted to do justice to the earlier run, but it was ultimately a different book and didn't get enough attention to keep it going, so eventually it petered out. It's hard to properly explain how much fun this book was, however. I mean, the character was aware that he was just the latest in a long line of rebooted superheroes, and he was able to go see them in sort of a Valhalla for retcon characters, including Golden Age and cartoon animal versions. And look, this was early Reconstructionist work that challenged the deconstructionist movement that spawned the original character. But the medium has moved on. We've seen material like this since, but gosh darn it, this was such a breath of fresh air at the time. We got to see multi-part schemes by classically evil supervillains, interesting time travel stories, introspection on humanity when stuck in a robot duplicate of your younger self, and a super dog in heat. It applied the latest innovations in comics to a Silver Age setting. The Alan Moore run on Supreme will always stand as one of my favorite works of comic book writing. While there have been better books, more impactful books, more meaningful books, for my money, the Alan Moore run on Supreme is one of the most fun and dear to my heart stories ever published in comics. And as a result, I will always be on the lookout for anything featuring the character.